Hi, welcome back. This is class 2 of the ABM 101 course. So let's get into it. As you know, I'm sure you did attend the first class, but this is ABM 101 is part of a 5-part course. You'll be notified when the other courses are available. In ABM 101, this is class 2 of 4. In the last class, as you remember, we covered some of the fundamentals about why ABM. In this class and the next class, we're going to dive into the 7 basic principles of ABM. And then in the last class of this course, we'll help you get started, get moving with ABM. Okay, so the learning objectives of today are quite simple. I'm going to define ABM for you, and I'm also going to help you understand the principles of ABM, so what the 7 principles are. And we're going to dive into the first 3 in this class and then the other 4 in the next class. So, as you will recall, why ABM? Number 1, it's about, selling and marketing is getting harder. The second issue is reaching the right buyers is the most important issue for B2B buyers, and it's just getting tougher. As I argued, I believe that traditional B2B marketing strategies are inefficient, could be wasting as much as 98% of your marketing, and that ABM can help you find, engage, and convert the right buyers. And last but not least, ABM practitioners say that ABM works for them. It delivers results, it generates revenue, and it has 3/4 say that it has the best ROI of any strategy that they use. Okay, so I want to start off with some definitions. So I've got a couple of definitions. One is by an organization called ITSMA, who I mentioned in the last class, and they're credited, I think, with coming up with the notion of ABM a couple of decades ago. And so their definition is ABM is a strategic approach to designing and executing highly targeted and personalized marketing programs to drive business growth and impact with specific named accounts. So the keywords in there are strategic, highly targeted, personalized, and specific named accounts. So that's one definition. This is Demandbase's definition. And Demandbase, if you haven't heard of them, they are, I think, the largest or one of the largest ABM technology providers. This is a definition I think they came up with a few years ago. It's a focused approach to B2B marketing in which marketing and sales work together to target best fit accounts and turn them into customers. So I kind of like the working together, alignment, and best fit accounts. So, some similarities, but some key issues pulled out that are prioritized that are different between the 2 definitions. ABM has been around for a while, and the way it's evolved is that, in the late 90s, ABM, the precursor to ABM, was actually called strategic account marketing or strategic account sales. So what that was about was much more field marketing centric. It was analog, so it was kind of pre-digital, maybe a bit of email, but lots of phone, lots of relationship building and that kind of stuff. In the 2000s, email became like the leading, if the leading B2B strategy. And it provided scale that to allow you to do to really do the concepts of ABM, where you're targeting specific accounts with much more personalized, or at least more customer, much more segmented and industry focused approaches. ABM, as we think about it today, didn't really come to bear until the last decade. And that's because, there are technologies like Demandbase, 6 Sense, and Terminus, a tool that we use also called Propensity, that allow you to actually do ABM at scale, where you can use ABM with thousands of accounts rather than dozens of accounts. And it can help you use the ABM principles across the entire marketing funnel. So the other thing to bear in mind is that ABM is not just about revenue and demand generation. Obviously, that's a part of it. But a lot of people say that the biggest value of ABM is it strengthens relationships. It either strengthens relationships with companies that you're trying to do business with. So, prospects that you're nurturing over a long period of time, or it strengthens your relationships with your existing customers. And then a third of ABM practitioners say it also is a very important strategy in helping improve brand reputation. So, the definition of ABM is evolving, but I think some of the key things is it's a strategic focus on improving revenue, reputation, and relationships, specifically with best fit accounts. It's about a tight partnership and integration with sales. And it's about creating tailored and personalized programs and campaigns based on deep customer insight. Customer insight, I believe, is the most important thing that you need to master to be really good at ABM. And these are the 7 basic principles of ABM. These are 7 principles that we've created, across the work that we've been doing for several years in healthcare and in other industries. But they're kind of like, if you look at other ABM practitioners, you'll hear the same themes, sort of different variations on the same topics. So principle number 1 is it's about targeting best fit customers. Principle number 2 is about finding in market prospects. Third principle is about marketing to those buyers, the prospects, in the way that they buy. Number 4 is there are 3 flavors of ABM. Number 5 is using personalization to engage buyers. 6 is you're going to need to develop a new set of measures that are much more ABM centric. And then the last principle is that ABM just doesn't work without sales and marketing alignment. So I'm going to spend some time in this class, in the rest of this class, to talk about principles 1 through 3. All right, so let's start with targeting best fit customers. If you make a decision to go with ABM, to take an ABM centric approach, you're actually making it's in many ways could be considered quite a risky decision, because you're making a decision to narrow your focus from marketing to the total available market to focusing your attention on a smaller set of best fit target accounts. And so you're focusing your resources on fewer targets. You're also using much more personalized marketing, which is harder and more time intensive to do than kind of typical spray and pray tactics, the sort of like mass emails that go out. And the thing is, if you get your targeting wrong, you could be placing all of your marketing bets on the wrong, placing them all on the wrong bet. So this is a way of thinking about how you narrow down your target account list, the accounts that you're going to focus on. So you start by segmenting the total available market. You then define your ideal customer profile, also known as an ICP. So an ideal customer profile. I'll go into a little bit more about that in a minute, but in short, it's basically a segment of your total available market that represents the customers that are the best suited to what you do and the most likely to do business with. And then it's about finding those best fit target accounts and then tracking those accounts as you engage with them over time. So ABM targeting is quite different from traditional targeting, because one of the things that you're doing is you're focusing on who is in market right now. This notion of in market is really important, and I'm going to explain a little bit about how you do that in the next principle. What you're doing is much more driven by insights that you have about those accounts. You have to do a lot more research about the accounts to do this well. It's also about constant optimization of your accounts. And so this notion of, pick a set of accounts based on just size and then set it and forget it is not ABM, right? With ABM, you're actually taking like a list of 1,000 accounts and saying, you know what, we're going to focus on these 200 because we believe they're the best fit for what we do. So, some of the ideal ICP characteristics, ideal customer profile characteristics, include things like, is this organization a good fit, good size, a good fit for me? It may not just be that they're the largest or the smallest. It may be that they're sort of that medium-sized organization that you actually have the most references for. Are they in the right geography? Not necessarily. You shouldn't necessarily assume that you're going to market nationwide. And obviously, you may be dividing things up into territory. The third one is the revenue potential for you is high, and I'll give you an example in a little bit about where in my previous company, my software company, where we made some very strategic decisions about that. You also want to find the ideal customers where the sales cycles are likely to be shorter, or at least at a length that you can manage your business at. And then lastly is like, are they aligned? Is the company aligned with your objectives? So for example, if you're a company that's very innovative, and being seen as innovative is an important thing for you, then being able to actually target, you want to, within your available market, you want to actually figure out who are the customers who have a higher propensity for innovation versus those who are more risk averse. So it's all kind of common sense, but it's actually kind of scary how few companies actually do this kind of exercise to define what their ICP looks like. Here are some of the sort of typical kind of characteristics that you might look at, some of the sort of more addressable data. So firmographics, geography, size, all that kind of stuff. Sales stage, like, are they customers, are they companies that you've actually have a relationship with? How are they positioned with your competitors? Have they been a competitor? Are they entrenched with one of your competitors, or are they showing signals that they might be likely to switch? And then there are some other characteristics that you want to think about. Like here's a couple of examples of segmentation and targeting. So this is a company that we did some business with. They happen to be a ServiceNow software company. So their application works on top of the ServiceNow platform. So, first ICP characteristic is, does this company use ServiceNow? The second is, there are several industries that they focus on. So healthcare, life sciences, financial services, and retail are their key industries. They then segment those further by size, and then intent to buy, and I'll talk more about intent in a second, and then also as to whether or not they're on which one of their competitors they currently use. So this company will take this sort of total available market of healthcare, life sciences, and financial services and retail accounts, of which there are thousands, obviously, and they slice and dice them based on a set of characteristics that are best suited to the way that that they want to sell and market. Here's my own personal example. So with my software company, Unify Health, we were selling to the healthcare industries, and there are lots of different segments within healthcare. We made a decision early on that we wanted to focus on regional healthcare systems and large independent hospitals. So that meant that we were not going after the gigantic healthcare systems, like, for example, Ascension, which is hundreds of hospitals, but we might be going after a medium-sized healthcare system, which was big in a particular state, like Hackensack Meridian Health, for example, or Baycare in Florida, and then some small independent hospitals. that we felt were more likely to buy from us because, well, frankly, because they had a more independence in how they made decisions about the technology, but they were large enough that they had problems that we could solve. We also decided early on that we would focus on the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic because my company was based in New Jersey. And so we figured, you know what, we're just going to focus initially on companies that we can drive to because, you know, particularly early on, proving that the service that we delivered was going to be key. And so we wanted to be able to get to any customer within a day. There are a whole bunch of other characteristics that we looked at as well. But this actually enabled us to qualify opportunities much earlier on. So second principle is about finding in-market prospects. Well, let me explain what that means. So the notion that you're looking for is intent. And so there's this form of data which is relatively new, which has sort of come about in the last 10 years. And it's called intent data. And I think it's a game changer because what intent data can do is it can show you which leads and accounts are actively conducting research online. And it includes implicit behaviors, or sort of, it can tell you kind of declared intent based on the buying signals that you see from these accounts. And so I'm going to dive into that a little bit further. So let me kind of give you a more consumer-oriented version of intent data. So you've probably all experienced this on your social media platforms. I, for example, you know, at one point, this was early on during the pandemic, was interested in getting a Peloton. So I started Googling Peloton and looking at the Peloton website. And sure enough, when I went on the Facebook site, Facebook seemed to know that I was very interested in exercise equipment. And so started actually marketing to me alternatives of Peloton. I happened to go with a Peloton in the end, but I hadn't actually been aware of these other systems. And so it did make me stop before I went off and actually made a decision to buy the Peloton. Okay, now in B2B, there are lots of different signals, and so the whole thing is about, you know, finding in-market data, finding in-market accounts is the different types of buying signals that you can look out for. So are they researching high-value keywords that are relevant to what you do? Are they researching your competitors? Are they interacting with your website? You know, are they downloading content? Are they looking at multiple solution pages? How are they responding to marketing? Are they engaging with your LinkedIn ads? And then last but not least, are they actually engaging with sales in some kind? So that's the, you know, what you're seeing there is the kind of progression across the funnel of the buying signals that you see. And the last but not least is the best one is when they're actually engaging with sales. There are three types of intent data. So the first type of intent data, first party intent data, is specifically about behavior that's happening on your website. So there are lots of ways of capturing it. What I've shown you right here is a tool I use called Clearbit. There are other ones out there called Leadlander. There are a bunch of them out there. What they can tell you is that they can, based on things like IP and cookies and things like that, they can tell you which accounts are actually hitting your website. Even if they're not downloading content or filling out forms or anything like that, you can get some information about them. So that's first party intent data. Second party intent data is companies like Capterra or G2 that provide, they're essentially a buying websites where if you're a buyer and you're in the market, you're going to go to those websites and you're going to evaluate the different companies, the different vendors within a category. So I've done CRM here. This shows you the sort of the three of the CRM choices. Analysts are another example of second party intent data. The third one, and this is where it gets really sexy, is third party intent data. So third party intent data looks at buying signals across thousands of different websites and it aggregates those buying signals in a way that allows you to identify which accounts have a high likelihood of being in market for what you do. So what this little graphic on the side shows right now is I'll see if I can blow it up. No, I can't blow it up any more than that. These are accounts. That little green is a score. So this one has 83, and it tells you information about you. Basically, it scores these accounts based on the degree to which they appear to be in market. It's kind of like magic in my view, and it's pretty useful. I will give you a warning. It's not perfect. So just because, company X is showing a high buying signal doesn't guarantee that they're in market and they're going to do business with you. It just increases your odds because it's giving you signals that suggest that they might be in market for what you do. Okay, let's move on to the third principle, which is marketing to buyers the way that they buy. This may seem sort of intuitive, like, don't we all do this, but it's like the difference is rather than pushing a message at them, it's about actually putting content and information and tools out there that actually are going to help them along the way with their decision. But it's about getting the right message in front of them at the right time in the buyer journey. So first thing is, as I'm sure you all know as experienced B2B buyers, and in complex sales cycles, companies don't buy as individuals; they buy as groups. So there are different ways. There are different names for this. There's buyer collective, which is my favorite term. There's buyer circle, which is another way of calling them. Buying groups, buyer groups. They're all the same thing. It's essentially the stakeholders within an organization who are responsible for making decisions about what to buy. So what I've shown you here is a kind of a typical healthcare buyer collective for something like a patient engagement solution. And what you're seeing here in orange is the champion. So the vice president of population health is likely to be the champion, the person who's going to initiate the process of buying. But there are several key influencers who have an important stake that you need to engage with and you need to educate. And then lastly, there is the chief medical officer, CMO, who may well be the decision maker. They may be the person who actually says at the end of the day, yes, this is what we're going to go ahead with. So let's go back to a slide I shared earlier on. And this is, don't forget, buyers go through 3 different stages, right? They start off by defining the problem that they are addressing as a group. And they need a lot of help here. But where they need even more help is when they're defining their solution. And so this is where, your content and the tactics that you use to reach them early in the buying process are so important. Typically, when they're getting down to this stage, they're pretty close to having made a decision. And so, your tactics need to be a lot more aggressive and a lot more competitive at that particular stage. The next thing that you need to understand is, get a better sense of who the individual personas are. So what this shows you here is who the personas are. This is for a different client of ours, but what this is actually showing you is the personas of the key stakeholders of a buyer collective. So it's a fairly simple sort of high level view of them. My view on personas is you don't need to go much more detailed than that. Where you need to get detailed is in actually defining the buyer journey. So the buyer journey is where and let me show it so you can see the headline, where you create a detailed analysis of the questions and issues that they have at each stage. So that, at the early stage, what are the triggers? What are the things that the buying group are going to be discussing that indicate that they've triggered to actually start the process? What areas are they investigating? What types of information? What intent topics will they be researching? What search terms will they be Googling? And then what are all the various other questions that they have that are going to be relevant to, you know, that are going to help them define the problem? By spending the time on these sorts of things, it forces you to think, put yourself in the shoes of the buyer and to understand in great detail how buyers buy. The reason that's important, and particularly important in ABM, is all of your marketing and the content that you create, the tactics that you use, and then the way that you personalize them are based on an in-depth buyer journey. I can't stress the importance of that enough to you. Okay, so in this session, we reviewed principles 1 through 3. In the next session, we're going to go through principles 4 through 7, and that's about the flavors of ABM, using personalization, maybe some new set of measures to use, so the ABM measures, and then lastly, the importance of marketing alignment. So quick plug just for the book. Again, if you haven't already taken advantage of it, my book on ABM, and really everything that I'm teaching is based on this, and it's based on the work that we do with clients, but also based on researching and learning. It aggregates insights from all other ABM, lots and lots of other ABM experts. It's called Total Customer Growth. If you go to Total Customer Growth, you can get it, the book, free of charge. All you need to do is pay for the shipping. Okay, so that ends class 2 of the ABM 101 course. Let's go take a break. Come back tomorrow. Come back whenever you're ready, and take class 3, where we'll go into the next set of principles.